So good morning, everyone, officially. So happy to see everyone here. If you will rise when you are able, and we will sing our joy song, which is projected on the wall. I celebrate joy. I celebrate joy within my soul. I celebrate joy. And knowing that God is in control. I celebrate joy. And knowing that Spirit sets me free. I celebrate joy and unity. Spirit is alive in me. I celebrate love. I celebrate love within my soul. I celebrate love. And knowing that God is in control. I celebrate love. And knowing that Spirit sets me free. I celebrate love and unity. Spirit is alive in me. I celebrate hope. I celebrate hope within my soul. I celebrate hope. And knowing that God is in control. I celebrate hope. And knowing that Spirit sets me free. I celebrate hope and unity. Spirit is alive in me. I celebrate hope and unity. Spirit is alive in me. Get it, Bill. Yes, get it. Thank you. That was fun.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Nancy, so much for leading us. And Bill and Rick, thank you for the peppiness. Welcome to everyone in the sanctuary. Who's celebrating with us for the first time today? Anyone? Okay, our usual friends. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones. Everyone's already done that? I'm so impressed. Okay, our one-minute reader today is Bob Brooks, and our musicians are Bill Hoffman and Cherie.
Cherie, do you have a last name?
It's like Cher.
What is it?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
W-R-I-G-H-T, right?
Like the brothers.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I'm the one that does the orders of service, but that'd be so nice to put your actual name there. Thank you.
And Melanie is our speaker. Alrighty, Bob.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Bob.
I'd like to read you a poem entitled Grace. It's by Joy Harpo, who just happens to be the newly appointed Poet Laureate of the U.S. She is a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, and she is the author of several books, including American Sunrise, and I'll have to get, because I had not heard of her until I got this email. But what pulled me to it was the fact of grace and how we talk about grace, and I don't know if I'm sure what grace is yet, but Doug said just dig it and go on. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and this Grace by Joy Harjo. I think of wind and her wild ways, the year we had nothing to lose, lost it anyway in the cursed country of the fox. We still talk about the winter, how the cold froze imaginary buffalo on the stuffed horizon of snowbanks. The haunting voices of the starved and mutilated broke fences, crashed our thermostat dreams, and we couldn't stand it one more time. So once again, we lost a winter in stubborn memory, walked through cheap apartment walls, skated through the fields of ghosts into a town that never wanted us in the epic search for grace. Like coyote, like rabbit, we could not contain our terror and clowned our way through a season of false midnights. We had to swallow that town with laughter so it would go down easy as honey. And one morning, as the sun struggled to break ice and our dreams had found us with coffee and pancakes in a truck stop along Highway 80, we found Grace. I could say Grace was a woman with time on her hands where a white buffalo escaped from memory. But in that dingy light, it was a promise of balance. We once again understood the talk of animals, and spring was lean and hungry with the hope of children and corn. I would like to say with Grace, we picked ourselves up and walked into the spring thaw. We didn't. The next season was worse. You went home to Leech Lake to work with the tribe, and I went south. And wind, I am still crazy. I know there is something larger than the memory of a dispossessed people. We have seen it. Thank you.
I need a little bit of time to contemplate that. That was beautiful, thank you. Okay, our opening hymn today is number 87, God of the Earth. How many verses are we doing? 2. Number 87, God of the Earth, both verses. Stand as you are able.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Before we go any further, let's do a call to worship. If you're not familiar with it, which I think most of you are, it says, "Oh, draw me, Lord, and I'll run after thee." So sing with me if you will. Oh, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord. Oh, draw me, Lord. And I'll run after you. Oh, draw How sweet. I'm going to hang out in Exodus a little bit today. So let me start with this verse. It's Exodus 14:14. It says, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Let me read it one more time. The Lord will fight for you. You need only be still. Let's talk for a minute about that word fight, because I'm okay. Where is it? There it is. I see it in a different way. You may see it with, guns blazing, fists up, I will fight for you. But I see it in a different way. I think of it more as God will make it right for you. Sometimes we call it fighting the good fight. Doing what's right, or doing what feels good, what feels right. And you need only to be still. Sometimes I've asked God to help me fight my finances. All right? We poor teachers, we work so hard and we make so little. Oh God, please help me fight the good fight. Or maybe you've asked God to help you fight your battle with addiction or your battle with sadness. Right? God, help me fight the good fight. Right? Help me love the kids who aren't so nice to me. Right? But the scripture says here, the little nugget in this all is you need only to be still. And I take that to mean you need only to be still in who you are and know who you are. I think the battle for some of us is to have all these things, these conditions that we see outside of us, or all these experiences going on, and just be still on the inside and know that all is good, that all is well. I have to tell myself that a lot. I confess I get a little agitated with politics now and then. I'm sure you do too. Sometimes I want to talk about it, right? And I have this phrase called nurse it and rehearse it. I want to nurse it and rehearse it. This is what he said. This is what she said. This is what they're doing. This is what they're not doing. And I want to nurse it and rehearse it. But I'm learning to just be still. To know that all will turn out for good. That all will be well. That the Lord will fight the good fight for you. You need only to be still. That's in Exodus, and we'll talk about Exodus a little bit later. Say with me our statement of being found in your orders of service. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of God, and am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
We're going to do a tune called Summer Wind. It is summer, I believe. But we could use a little wind. One, two, three, four.
time for our healing meditation. Do we have any requests in our box?
Yes.
And we have several requests in our box, and we have several requests on our community prayer list. I'm sure you have some requests somewhere for your friends or family. So let us take a moment and do as we've been asked. Let's thank God together that our friends, our family, our neighbors know us and trust us to hold their requests in our heart, to thank God in advance for them. We thank you, God, that there is health, rejuvenation, strength of body, and we thank you in advance, God, for the peace that passes all understanding. For we know that there is healing of spirit and emotional pain. We thank you in advance, God, that where you are, all is well. We thank you for the financial healing. We thank you for the political healing in our country. We thank you in advance that all is good. And we hold these requests in our heart with the deepest of gratitude. Now get yourself nice and comfortable. And for just a little while, let's let go of all that we perceive separates us. For we are indeed all one. For a while, let our minds go about what's worrying us. And let us sit here in peace and oneness. Let us think for a while on what it is that makes us tick. What brings us joy? Let us be in a state of gratitude for all those things and experiences that we love and enjoy and look forward to. Let us know for a while, let us know, and let us experience that our God will fight the good fight for us. Help us remember that all we need to do is to be still. So let's be still for a little while. Let our deep call to deep say within yourself, I am all good. Say within yourself, I am the living breath of our God. That it's God's breath in our lungs. Let us use that breath to praise God even when we experience the storms. Yes, it's one thing, my friends, to know what love is. But to be loved, what a wonderful way of living. So in the next few minutes of silence, I'm going to ask you to truly, truly feel, see yourself, be love. Experience what that feels like so that when you leave here today, you can be the love in this world. You can make every decision from a place of love. Let us sit quietly and be still. And know that God is in us, around us, and is us. In this quiet moment, let us say what we call the Lord's Prayer together. I ask you to let it mean what you want it to mean to you, what you feel God is saying to you. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed is thy name. Thy kingdom is come. Thy will is done on earth as it is in heaven. Thou givest us this daily bread. Thou forgivest us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Thou leadest us not into temptation, but dost deliver us from all thoughts of evil. For thine is the kingdom, and all the power, and all the glory, forever and ever. Have you enjoyed your 4th of July celebrations? Yes? Who ate with some friends?
Yeah.
All right, just one or two. Did anybody have a cookout? Yeah? No? What's happening to you Americans? What's going on? We had a great 4th of July. I don't know about you, but my mind was definitely on country, and Doug spoke about patriotism last week. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about freedom, because freedom's been on my mind since the 4th of July especially. So think to yourself for a minute what you think freedom means. Some of you may be thinking about personal freedom. Some of you may have thought about political freedom. Some of you may have thought about total anarchy. Well, I told you we were going to hang out in Exodus, and the story here is going to be about freedom. And we will talk a little bit about personal freedom as well. You know, we have the inherencies of God. I like to think of freedom as one of those. I know that our little blue book of principles and fundamentals of divine science talk about love and intelligence and joy and all those things. But I like to add freedom there. I'm going to paraphrase a story from the Bible from Exodus. And I'm sure you will remember it if you grew up in any kind of mainstream Christian church. It's in Exodus, and it's about Moses, who finally accepts God's commission to confront the Pharaoh and demand that Israel is released from slavery. Right? He says, you need to go, you need to confront the Pharaoh. And what does Moses say? Do you remember the story? Yeah. At first, though, he says, the slaves won't listen to me. Why do you think Pharaoh's going to listen to me? But he goes and he says to the Pharaoh, let the people go. You see, in that time, in the ancient world, the power of the gods was measured by the power and the prosperity of the people who worshipped those gods. So Pharaoh was like, I'm not going to give much power to this God of my slaves. It just didn't make sense to him. As a matter of fact, it made his contempt for them grow. And then there's the series of devastating plagues that happen. And the Bible story says that, it was God's way of saying his presence was there and that he was the most powerful God in the story. Eventually, the Pharaoh heeds God's command to let his people go. Well, the people quickly, without gathering a lot of their food or supplies, but just their things and their people, gathered everything up and began this mass exodus. There were thousands of them. And Pharaoh felt very powerful, knowing that he had these, in a way, very knowledgeable, smart slaves doing his bidding, building his buildings. He didn't want to let them go, in other words. He wanted that power. But the people go and they march, and we find out that they start complaining almost right away. We're so hungry. Why didn't you just leave us where we were? We were slaves, we worked hard, but we were fed well. So now what are we supposed to do? In modern words, they might have said, whoop-de-doo, we're free, but we're hungry. We're free, but we're hungry. And we find out in the scriptures that God provides the food. And it's not long until they say, oh, I'm so thirsty. And again they say, well, why didn't you leave us there? At least in slavery, we had all the water we wanted. Some of them even said to Moses right up to his face, look, I'm going to die in the wilderness. I would rather live in slavery than die of thirst and hunger in the wilderness. Interesting story, don't you think? And somewhere along the way, somebody says to this group of people, my, oh my, look at all that's happened to set you free. You're free now. You have your freedom. But you still act like slaves. And your mind still goes back to the point of slavery. In actuality, what they were saying was, I'd rather be in slavery than have to start life anew. Think about that for just a moment. Because I think in our lives there are some things that we are slaves to. I could mention some of them. I think some of us are slaves to our worries. Literally slaves to our worries. They bind us. They keep us captive. How about your guilt? Now, I'm not bragging when I say I gave up guilt a long time ago. I did. I gave it up. I live a guilt-free life most of the time. But when guilt starts to hold me captive, I try not to act like the slave I used to be to it. I try to act like a person who's been set free. Is there anyone who would like to say something that you feel captive to that maybe I haven't thought of? Participation is really good for the soul. Thank you. All right, Amy Jo, what's something that you think holds you captive?
Wishing I had been a bit, constantly wishing I had done things differently and been a better mom.
That's called living in the past, right? Thoughts are in the past, wishing I could change the past. That holds so many people captive. And that's a little bit of guilt too. Yeah, maybe even changing the present, right? How many of you sometimes say to yourself, I should have said that. I should have hugged her. Oh, I should have just come out and said what I really was thinking. Yeah, that happens a lot. But sometimes we're captive to our fear. Yeah. So, God has let his people go and given us freedom. Freedom to make a choice. I know you've heard of free will, right? If you're, like I said, if you've been brought up in any of those widespread, well-known denominations, you have free will. But perhaps you've also heard this along with free will. You can choose whatever you want, but God will punish you if you don't choose the right thing. Ah. Am I the only one who heard that as a child? You have free will, my little one. God has given you free will, but be careful. If you don't choose the right thing, you'll live in eternity of damnation. Boy, was I afraid. I didn't want to think. I'm like, oh God, take all thoughts away from me. All thoughts. Just give me your thoughts, because if I think something that's not true, if I choose wrongly, then I'm going to be eternally separated from you. Boy, was that a hard one to grow up with. I think it's a hard one for people to live with now, too. And I think some of us have accepted our freedom maybe, our free choice, our free will, but we just don't use it. And like the people coming out of Egypt, like the Israelites were saying, sometimes I'd rather just be captive. God, just tell me what to do. There is this thing about God's will, right? We want to do God's will. Have you said that before? God, let your will be done. Well, you don't even have to ask that. God's will is always done. Right? God's will is that you live a free people. Oh. Now I'm feeling like a prophet a little bit. God's will is that you live as a free person. Free to make your own choices and free to love who you want to love and when you want to love. But you're not free to not be loved. You have to be loved. That's who you are. Right? I can't say to you, I'm free not to be Melanie. I can't help it be me. That's who I was created to be. So I'm going to ask you, with your free will, which is your gift today, would you consider taking that free will, that love so freely given to you, and give it to someone else? Just let it flow. Can I say to you, you are free from your financial ruin? Can I say to you, you're free from all of your relationships from the past that caused you pain and agony? Can I say to you that you're free from loss, from the pain of loss? Can I say you're free from your self-hate? Can I say that you are free from others' hate? You are. You're free. You're free from all of that. I want to share a little story with you now. And it's a children's story. I'm just going to use this to help me remember most of it. I don't want to leave any out. It's called The Colorless Tiger. And I thought it was a great story. So just bear with me and enjoy and get something good from it. Once upon a time, there was this colorless tiger. The story says that all his shades were grays and blacks and whites. So much so that he seemed to look like a tiger straight out of a black and white movie. I'm sorry, I'm way too young to remember this. I bet you. His lack of color had made him famous. So much so that the world's greatest painters had come to his zoo to try to put some color on him. It is a kid's story. None of them were successful. They would try and they would try and they would put color on him and it would just drip off. It would just drip away. But along came this one fellow who everybody called the crazy painter. Because he was a strange guy. He traveled all about and he happily painted with his brush, but people couldn't really tell what his paintings were about. Sometimes they were just a big swash of color, and he would interpret it, and others would say, okay, if you say so. Here was something interesting, though. Someone knew about him painting the air. So they said, we've got to get this guy. He paints the air. Maybe he'll be the one to paint the tiger. And everybody just had a really good laugh about the whole situation. But he was invited and he came. And when he entered the tiger's cage, he took his brush and he painted the air. But he did take time, every few minutes, to bend down and, to everyone's surprise, whisper in the tiger's ear. Well, he is truly the crazy painter, they said. The tiger still looks the same. And the crazy painter is painting the air. He spent a long time there that day in the cage, whispering to the animal and making slight adjustments to the air with his paintbrush. But you may be surprised to find out that the result was truly beautiful. Because as he painted and whispered, the tiger became the most brilliant tiger color ever. So brilliant and beautiful that people gasped in awe. And of course everyone wanted to know the secret. They even said to him, you painted the air, how did this happen? What did you keep whispering to that tiger? He said, I whispered to him over and over, in just a few days, you will be free. You will see. In just a few days, you will be free. And the story ends by saying, seeing how sad the tiger had been in his captivity, and how joyful the tiger seemed now at the prospect of his freedom, the zoo authorities transported him to a forest and set him free, where never again he would lose his color. Isn't that a gorgeous story? What he did was he whispered to the tiger, in just a few days you will be free. And his colors became brighter and brighter. In just a few days you'll be free. I don't know how much stronger or louder I can say this. But my friends, right now you can be free. You can be free of all that holds you back. You can be free of all that you perceive is evil. You see, it took me a long time, as someone brought up in a Pentecostal situation, yeah, I'm calling it a situation, where I was taught that not only was I evil, but I was too evil that God could not even look at me. That there was nothing I could ever do but hope to be saved, because I was too wicked and evil. And as a child, I thought to myself, that's very strange. I've done everything just right. Everything I was asked to do. And I've loved people who were not even very lovable. Like a couple of my uncles. And my Aunt Lena. I'm just saying. I loved even them when they didn't seem very lovable. And it took me 30-something years to realize that when the Son sets me free, I am free indeed. Now, I don't know about you, but I want to live like the tiger. I want to believe in my freedom. I want to claim it. And I want my colors to be brighter than ever. I love you. And I feel like you love me. And my friends, we are free indeed. That should bring you great joy. Now live like free people. Don't you be an Israelite. Don't you ever say to yourself, I'd rather be back in that slavery. I'm slave to my bank account. Don't say that. Don't go back there. Be free indeed. And trust. Trust that God is going to give you everything you need. We believe that God is our great source, the one source, that all things come from God. And one of my closest friends right now has taught me a phrase that I'm going to use more and more. And she says, it's already God's money. I'm just the steward. Because you see, finances is one thing, being the poor teacher thing, nursing and rehearsing. I work so hard, it makes so little. Finances has always been one of those captives for me. And I would worry about it. And now I don't. And I have all that I need. And even more. So I'm trying to be more free. I'm letting money flow through me just like love flows through me. Right? It's not really mine anyway. Let your love flow. Be free indeed. Now it's your turn.
This is a tune called Blue Bossa. It's a Latin tune to celebrate my non-Latin heritage. You ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you so much, Bill and Cherie. Always puts me in a trance. I think it does the rest of us. Kind of want it to go on and on and on. Now it's time for the blessing of our gifts. If you will repeat the blessing of the gifts statement in our orders of service together. Today, I acknowledge God, omnipresent, as the source of all good, as the source of my good. With this acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundance in every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitation, and I am open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and give freely of the special gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent, blesses and multiplies this gift for all. Thank you, dear God.
Please take a moment to turn to someone and thank them for the special gift that they are. All right, coming around to you is a prayer basket. Take one or two names, pray for someone this week, knowing that you'll be blessed too.
Good morning.
Morning, Jan.
Well, let's get two important things out of the way. First, this is birthday Sunday. We have lots of birthdays in July. Tom Dean, Rick Allen, Earl, Jana, Wendy. Wendy's not even here yet. Tammy, Doug, and Martha. So let's see, Rick and Martha and Doug are here. So let's sing happy birthday. Cake and coffee, and thanks to Wendy and Doug for making the birthday cake for this month, so we appreciate that so very much. Doug said he thought it was going to be good, so we'll let him know. And I'm sure it will be great. The other important thing is I want to thank the 13 people that showed up yesterday. And instead of me naming everybody, would y'all just please stand up, because we had 13 people who came and worked in the yard yesterday, and we really do appreciate that. Thank you. But anyhow, we had a good time, even though it was hot, but we always seem to have a good time whatever we're doing, whether it's working or partying or whatever. So again, we appreciate it. We're probably going to have another work day in maybe late September when it gets a bit cooler. And then again in the spring, so we're going to try to have 2 a year at least, so we can maybe keep this yard under control and not have to work as hard at one time to get it done. So anyhow, again, we appreciate all the work that everybody did yesterday, so thank you again. The flowers today are for Rick's birthday, sponsored by Laurel, so happy birthday, Rick.
Hey, Rick. Happy birthday.
Also, there's some empty spots on the flower calendar. If anybody would like to sign up, please do so. We've got from now to the end of the year, so there's quite a few still left open. So we appreciate if you would sign up. Also, so I'll ask you if you take these, if you want to, you can take these orders of service home. It has the events on here. We can always print more. So coming up this week, we have decided to have a dinner out this Friday night at 6:30 at Rimini's, I think I'm not saying that right, Rimini's on Brambleton. It's across from Okies. It's going to be at 6:30. I think people have decided they would rather go out to eat than have potluck and have to cook, so I don't blame them. So anyhow, and I'll be reminding you again this week, but it's Friday night at 6:30. Also, Friday night, Maria's having her second meeting of the Near Death Experience Association, and that's at 7 o'clock here at the church. And we'll be announcing that again. As far as I know, she's having it because she didn't tell me otherwise. She's not in town yet, so I'm not sure. I guess we'll be back.
She said she was.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, and the other thing is, we put, everybody took little change baskets. We appreciate everybody's turning them in. We've had, close to $200 now, I think, just since May, or last of April. So, and if you didn't get a box and you want one, I have plenty more, if you're willing to take one. So other than this, and also this Thursday night, you're doing your Ann's craft class will be this Thursday night at 6:30. So we always have a good time with that. We're amazed at some of the things we do. So anyhow, come out for that. It's always a good time with that. Does anybody else have anything they need to add or say or ask? All right, let's get on. Somebody has birthday cake. She's excited about the birthday
I
cake.
just enjoyed being here. All right. Let's sing our closing hymn, which is number 80, There Is a Place. We will sing both verses. Number 80, There Is a Place, both verses. Stand as you are able.
Let us gather as a church, as a people. We're coming, Mark. May the peace of God be with you always. In this time of our service, we bow our heads and close our eyes, but don't forget the people standing across from you. For they are here not by accident, we're here by divine design. Let us be loving. Let us be still. Amen.
Amen.